Thinking about where we are right now in society, but also the focus on gender equality, what we're still seeing from an organizational perspective and just a general societal perspective is that we're not moving the dial as quickly enough as we would like. And this is really one of the reasons why gender equity for me and also, for benefactor consulting is so important because it's actually looking at gender, well, gender and race, which means that like while loads of companies right now have their gender strategies, they've pushed race somewhere down the line for loads of years. So it ultimately means that they're still perpetuating the same issues of further solidifying the hierarchy between women. Even though we don't break it down in such a granular sense in the UK, we still do that in the US. There's, Black women's equal pay day, Latina women's equal pay day. There is still a hierarchy within women. And only by really sitting at this intersection of gender and race do we have the opportunity to broaden the spectrum in flattening this hierarchy, but also making meaningful change within the gender strategy. Because when I think about it and I look across what the goal is and where we're trying to get to, gender equality very much focuses on us getting parity to men, which is obviously the ultimate goal. Yet, what we're still seeing, and this was very much verified in the research that we did of closing the chasm, changing the workplace for Black women, which is there has been no specificity around, for example, Black women. The strategies that are currently in place are still very much those that do not allow for the amplification of and the inclusion of Black women when making really important decisions. And this is why, or this is the thing that has to change. And this is, the difficulties with or the nuance of gender equality is that we're seeing still that women of color and Black women aren't being included just by looking at women's groups, women's clubs. And the whole goal of this and the whole point of this is that we eventually get to the point where the issues that Black women face don't come with the rolling of the eyes and we're talking about the race card, or we're going to decide to bifurcate it and push race down the road, but rather that we're saying we're taking it together. Just as much as I cannot separate my race from my gender, so can't many other women. And this is why it has to be together with any forward-looking strategy. This is the nuts and bolts. For as long as race feels like it's an untouchable part of gender equality, things will remain the same. We can't hope for the outcome of diversity if we still continue to perpetuate the same strategies, the same initiatives as we did before, and hoping for a different outcome. I think that's actually the definition of insanity. But that's the point. We cannot keep hoping for change, that we're going to get to this point where we close all of these gaps if we don't start to do something different. By looking at the issues, and I'm going to say the original, we have Women in the Workplace by McKinsey, and then Benefactum came with changing, closing the chasm. The point is that we're still not looking at this experience chasm of Black women and women in the workplace. By looking at that and really looking at this experience chasm, is there an opportunity to create a strategy that's more robust? And that is the reason why, we focus on gender equity. Gender equity is almost gender equality plus, in the sense of you're adding an element, you're adding racial equity because it's very, very much needed. We're seeing from an investment perspective that racial equity is playing a role more and more from, excuse me, investment strategies, to looking at supply chain. But why are we not taking that same mirror and holding it up to our organizations and saying, well, how do we reflect this same strategy within our culture? So this has to be the moment of change. Now has to be the moment of change. If what's been done before is no longer working, then now has to be the moment that we then decide we can't leave it 287 years until we get to gender equality and any sort of economic parity. It cannot wait that long. So the question is, are you ready to try something different?